Good afternoon. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. And for this edition of Trade Talks, we're going to focus on the commodities space as Gregg Doud, President of the Commodity Markets Council, and the team at CMC are joining us to close the Nasdaq market closing bell. Gregg, thank you so much for joining us at MarketSite today. And tell us a little bit more about the Commodity Markets Council.
Well, the Commodity Markets Council is a trade association in Washington, D.C. Our members are the exchanges, Nasdaq Futures, CME Group, ICE, and their customers on the hedging side that trade ag and energy derivatives. So ADM, Bunge, Cargill, BP, Koch Industries, and we have a FCM community. We have a few in the high-frequency trading side of the equation, a smattering of folks that are hedgers, that use the futures markets for hedging purposes rather than speculation. So we deal specifically with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission in Dodd-Frank space in Washington, D.C. We also have a division that works with MiFID II issues, and we call that CMC Europe.
Right.
And so it's similar companies doing the same thing in Europe, and then we also do some things in the power trading space as well. We call it the Power Trading Institute, and that's with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission in Washington, D.C.
So there's a lot on your plate, clearly at CMC. So what are some of the industry issues that you're focusing on right now?
Well, we spend a lot of time trying to help our regulatory agency understand that we didn't cause the financial crisis. When it comes to Dodd-Frank, Congress intended for us to be left alone, meaning us, the hedgers, the non-speculators. And that worked well up on Capitol Hill, but we continue to struggle with that in the regulatory agency with things like reporting requirements and all of these different compliance issues that result in a huge number of costs for us, position limits and things like that. So it's a constant discussion and battle to help them understand this is how we use derivatives in the real world to hedge our products. And if you add cost to doing that, it means that farmers and producers of commodities and consumers of food have to pay more, and the farmer gets less if you add regulatory costs in the middle.
Right, of course, because everything tends to trickle down.
That's right.
Outside of Washington, D.C. and regulation, are there other industry issues that you look at?
Well, we typically not, but we do try to work on issues relative to regulatory issues and try to grow our industries respectively and help people understand that risk management is a very important part of what we do for any kind of commodity that is involved with a futures exchange.
And what state of the industry is the industry in right now?
You know, we've really struggled with the cost side of government regulation, and the Trump administration, that has been a big mantra of beating back regulation, lowering costs to transact and do business. We're kind of the poster child for that in our space. That's what the Commodity Markets Council deals with, is keeping regulatory costs low, but also helping people understand. You know, we spend a lot of time on Capitol Hill helping people understand how futures markets work. One of the most interesting things to do is describe what a swap is. Right. To people on Capitol Hill and regulators. They just generally don't necessarily understand how these markets work, and we spend a lot of time on that.
I also think it's important for the retail investor and for consumers to understand this as well, so they can appreciate all of the work and the cost factor that does go into this.
Well, there's this sentiment that the speculator is someone that's a bad person involved in all of this, and the members of the Commodity Markets Council, we rely on that kind of activity to keep markets liquid and keep activity in these markets, because if you don't do that, it makes the costs of what we do to manage our hedging actually higher, not lower. So the person that takes the other side of our position and what we do to manage risk is critical to our business.
All right, well, thank you very much, Gregg, for joining us at MarketSite. And traders, as always, thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.